What would happen if you only ate beef for 3 days straight? This is a question that I recently had after seeing several interviews of Jordan Peterson talking about his all beef diet and the benefits that came from being on an all beef diet. Now, if you don't know who Jordan Peterson is, he's a Canadian psychologist, professor, and media commentator, and he's recently become more and more popular, especially for his view of diet and nutrition, where all that he eats is beef. Now, the benefits that he claims from eating an all beef diet are insane, and I wanted to do a 3-day challenge where I tried it out myself. So if you're interested in seeing what that 3-day challenge looks like, the benefits that I got from it, and my complete review of eating beef for 3 days straight, go ahead and head over to my YouTube channel, watch the entire process, and see what it looked like to try the beef challenge. Over the next 3 days, I'm going to eat nothing except for beef. Beef for breakfast, beef for lunch, beef for dinner. And the reason that I'm doing this is recently online, I saw several interviews of Jordan Peterson. If you don't know who he is, he's actually a Canadian psychologist, author, and media commentator who is currently on an all beef diet. Now, as crazy as that sounds, he said that there has been a ton of benefits to, number one, losing weight. I think that's an obvious one when it comes to cutting down your calories and cutting down on the types of foods that you actually consume on a daily basis. But then also the autoimmune diseases that he had been completely resolved and healed. So the reason that I want to try this over the next 3 days is to, number one, see what it would be like eating all beef. Number two, I think that it's kind of interesting, and I find it fascinating if there is any health benefits that I'll notice over the next 3 days. And number three, this winter has been extremely hard on my family. All of us have been sick. I think if we counted up from the time probably back in October all the way till now, we've been sick around 8 times. And we're a fairly healthy family. We all take our vitamins, we exercise regularly, but for some reason, we just keep getting sick, and I wanted to see if this would help, if I feel any difference being on an all beef diet over the next 3 days. Then it's also going to be a good kickstart going into a cutting phase for me. I've reached the point in my fitness where going into the summer, I really like to lean up and get as lean as possible. And right now is the perfect time to start that. So if I can start off with doing something really, really strict and really, really unsustainable and hard for the first 3 days, I think that going into the rest of my cut will be really easy, because I'll be like, man, I could go back to eating just beef, and it'll be kind of like a psychological trick that I can use to my advantage. So stay with me over the next 3 days. I'll be dropping you guys updates from all over social media. I'll show you exactly what it looked like before, what I experienced during, and then overall what I experienced at the end, just to give you guys an inside look into some of my predictions of what happened, of what will happen. Number one, I think that I'm going to lose anywhere between probably 5 to 7 pounds in the next 3 days. I'm the type of person, when I'm on a high protein and low carb, so no carb diet, or a medium to high fat diet, I lose weight extremely fast. I think that because of the amount of carbs that will be in my system and the glucose that I currently have, it probably will take me a day and a half to get into ketosis. But I definitely think by the end of day one, I'm going to be feeling really, really crappy. And then the beginning of day two, I'll probably feel crappy too. But then by the end of day two, I think I'll really feel energized and energetic. And then day three, I see it going really well. So those are my predictions. That's what I'm hoping to happen. I hope that it's not miserable, and I'm excited to try it out. So we'll give it a go. Never come to the grocery store before for just beef. I'm only going to buy beef.
Have you scanned your frequent shopper card? Insert cash.
Okay, 3 days worth of beef, $77. I wonder if I'll even eat all of it. That's a lot of beef. Here we go. All right, it's the morning of day one. Woke up probably about 30 minutes ago, weighed in, 218.5, took pictures, and we're gonna start this thing. I think by the end, just to have a weight projection, I think that I'll be down to probably somewhere around, I don't know, my body responds really fast to high protein, high fat, low carb, and it's about 1,800 calories, and I think that that will be an aggressive caloric deficit for where I'm currently at body fat wise and how many calories I probably eat for maintenance. So I'm thinking we could potentially get down to 212, anywhere between 212 to 210. I think to play it safe, I'm going to say 212, but I think to be aggressive, 210 would be about how much I could get down to this week. So it's not about just losing weight though. It's about like seeing what the process is like. What does it feel like simplifying food for the first few days of this cut, and seeing if there's any like long-term benefits that I notice or even short-term energy benefits. But we'll see. We'll see. Day one, here we go. On my way to the gym for day one. We're gonna get a workout in this morning. Some chest and tris. And I'm sure it's gonna feel good because I'm still like working off of my nutrition and diet I had over the weekend. So like I don't expect the workout to be any different than most workouts because I'll have carbohydrates in my system and I'm just barely getting started. So we'll hit a hard workout to kick things off and hopefully we can keep going over the next couple of days. There we go. There's the end of workout number one on day one. Strength was great. Haven't eaten any beef yet, so it's granted, it's gonna happen. Now I'm hitting the sauna for 10 minutes. Sauna was broke here at my gym for probably a month, so it's my first time back in and it's good. All my health practices and habits are getting kicked into high gear this week, so I typically like to sauna at least 3 to 4 times a week for 10 to 15 minutes. Just feel like it makes a huge difference with recovery, helps me calm my mind. I'll sometimes play some meditation music and just breathe in here, and it's good practice. So there's recap on workout number one. All right, you guys, a quick update. Just finished my first meal of beef, and I'm gonna go on a quick little walk now, but I thought I would jump on real quick and give you guys an update. But had my first meal. Boring, extremely boring. Like, I don't know how Jordan Peterson has been doing that for months. It may even be a year now that he started that diet, but that was one of the most boring meals I've ever had, and I definitely think it's going to get harder over the coming days. But I'm full, and so far we feel good. So now I'm going to hit some steps, get in my afternoon walk, and then get back to work. And then this evening we'll have probably similar 2 more meals of similar size, around 10 to 14 ounces of beef or steak. So I'll keep you guys updated. Okay, almost done with my walk. I did not expect it to downpour all of a sudden, but here we are. All right, beginning of day 2. This morning I weighed in at 215.4, so essentially lost 3 pounds. That's definitely not just because of eating beef. It is because of the caloric deficit, right? So what I'm doing is not something that I recommend that people do as like a diet or a way to lose weight. It is just an experiment for me, and it's something that has definitely been difficult. So day 2, I didn't show this last night, but I ended up eating, after having a steak, I had some more beef, ground beef, and that was just like, at this point, you would rather, or I would rather just not eat at all, right? So like, it's so bland and boring that you're just kind of like, I'd rather just not eat at all. So I think yesterday I ended up leaving an extra 400 calories on the table. So I only ate 1,400 calories, but it was all protein and all fat. This morning, definitely feeling a little bit different, like not a huge difference in energy just yet. And I think that I'll definitely notice it probably by the end of today. So we'll see how that goes. But day 2, here we go. Holy, I do not recommend going on an all beef diet and still training at the intensity that you would when you were intaking carbs. Had deadlift today, and literally was gonna pass out between sets. Even had to drop my weight and just hit a lower weight. I'm freaking winded. That workout was like my normal workout, but because of the lack of carbs, it just kicked my ass today. So do not recommend cutting out carbs and then lifting at the same intensity that you typically would, because it is gonna kick your butt. So day 2 lift is done. Only one more lift. I got legs tomorrow, and I have a feeling it's gonna be similar, if not worse, because I'll have even less fuel in my system and more beef. So we'll see how it goes. So it's only 10 a.m. Not even 10, it's 9:56. I've only taken one meeting so far today, and just energetically I am drained. So I'm actually coming down because I'm actually coming downstairs to eat some ground beef because I'm hungry, and I'm hoping that, you know, maybe eating will give me a little bit more energy. But once again, like, until my body switches over and realizes we're out of carbs and that we need to start using fat as fuel, it's gonna be a rough day or a rough time till then. So it's getting rough, guys. Wish me luck. More steak. All right, you guys, here's a quick update. We are on day 3 of the all beef challenge. Woke up this morning. My starting weight was 218.4. This morning when I weighed in, I was 212.7. So around 6 pounds already. Yesterday was definitely the hardest day. Around noon, I started getting like that keto flu feeling where I had a headache, I had zero energy, I was exhausted, my workout kicked my butt. But today I woke up feeling pretty good. Like, I have energy. The biggest benefit that I've noticed from going on the all beef diet and eating nothing but beef is there's zero brain fog. So I don't know if you guys have experienced that feeling before. Like, maybe you wake up to start your day and it kind of takes a few hours for you to like get clear and almost feel like you're thinking clearly and you have a lot of clarity. And honestly, the last couple of days I've had a ton of clarity. As soon as I woke up, my brain feels, I don't know how to even explain it, but it almost feels like it's working even better. And I assume that's just from like running primarily off of like those healthy fats and having fats in my system. So that's the update for today. I'm going to be honest, guys. This is not, I mean, it is sustainable, but it's not a fun way of living. I've learned throughout this process that food is fuel for your body, but I've also learned that it's a like ritual for me. It's something that I look forward to, right? And I think that's where the danger of food addiction can come in for individuals is we don't even realize it, but we use food as a way to escape the emotions that we're experiencing on a daily basis. And so despite, having the best nutritional plan and putting the best intentions out there, what happens is when we get triggered or when we experience negative emotions or when we're seeking pleasure and we feel that we can't get that from another source, we sometimes resort to food. And I can see why people would definitely struggle with that. And I find myself at times being like, man, I really want to, eat this thing or eat that thing or drink this, just to escape like emotions that I'm experiencing throughout the day. Or especially yesterday when I had low energy, like I was in a place where I was willing to do anything to get out of that state and like eat and break the challenge and end a day early. But it's been cool to learn these lessons, try out this experiment, and here's to one last day. We'll see how it goes and I'll keep you guys updated. Day 3, making lunch. More beef. It's a lot of beef. I will say that the steak, I can support the steak. Day 4, and I am finally done with the all beef diet. Thank goodness. That was rough, you guys. So to give you guys a quick recap, as you saw, I went all the way from 218.4 down to 211.7. Now, the first 2 days were really aggressive. I lost 3 pounds the first day, 3 pounds the second day, and then just under a pound the last day. The reason I think that happens and the reason why my body did that is because it was probably holding on to a lot of water, like just having carbs in my system. I typically feel a little bit more bloated. And that was like a big difference that I noticed from going on the all beef diet. Is it was almost like all the bloating went away. And I saw myself get a lot leaner in terms of like around my stomach and around like the love handle area, like in all those kind of areas where I typically bloat when I eat a lot of carbs. Those just over the past couple days like shrunk down, and it was a nice benefit to the all beef diet. With that being said, here is kind of my analysis of the past 3 days, what I learned and what I would have you guys kind of take away from this. So let's start with the pros. Let's look at the positives. Over the last few days, I was able to go from 218 down to 211. So I lost 7 pounds in 2 days. So that was a big pro of being on the all beef diet. Granted, that's just something that happens because of a caloric deficit, right? So I'm not here to say that like the all beef diet is like the secret to weight loss, because it isn't. The secret to weight loss is being in a caloric deficit and eating less calories than you're burning on a daily basis, and that's how you lose weight. So anytime that you cut out food groups, if you go vegetarian, keto, paleo, carnivore, all beef diet, whatever that is, the principle, the reason why you're actually losing weight is because of that caloric deficit. So that was the first pro, is it was really easy to get into a caloric deficit because I cut out all food groups except for beef, and it made it really simple. The other pro to going on all beef is the brain fog. So waking up on day 2 is when I really started to notice it, but day 3 is when I was the clearest, and I noticed that typical brain fog, I don't know if you guys have ever felt that feeling before, but you wake up in the morning and it's kind of like you're a little bit groggy and it takes a while to like wake up. Maybe you gotta like have some coffee or pre-workout or like get in the cold shower, like whatever it is to wake yourself up. I didn't notice that hardly at all on day 3, and like it was very little on day 2. So there's definitely something to be said about having a high protein, high fat diet and how that affects the brain. And I can see how it can help individuals with autoimmune diseases, such as the psychologist Jordan Peterson as well as his daughter, Michaela. The last pro I would say is just like the mental side of doing a challenge like this. It taught me a lot about how I look at food and how I actually use food. Many of you might not know this about me just yet, but I was a missionary for my church for 2 years. And during that time, you leave your family. I was 19 years old. I left my family. I moved to Orlando, Florida, across the United States. And for the first 3 months, I would say like the first 90 days of serving a mission, it was extremely difficult. Like it was a completely different lifestyle. I cut out all of those distractions in life, and I was just a full-time missionary for my church, and that's what I did day in and day out. And because of that drastic change, like it came with a lot of like depression and anxiety and things that you had to work through in those first 3 months. And as I was doing this, I was reflecting, and I was starting to learn about food and how I looked at food. And one of the things that I think happened back then in my life when I was 19 years old is I looked forward to like food breaks throughout the day, and I would compartmentalize different parts of my day. So like during those hard 3 months, I would say, okay, like I have my morning studies, and then like we're gonna get to breakfast and I get a break and I can just kind of like decompress. And then like we would do our morning and like our early afternoon, and then I would get to lunch and I would kind of get to decompress again. And then same thing, like going till dinner and I would decompress. So what that did psychologically for me is it created this pattern of like rewarding myself with food and using food as like a reward rather than like a fuel system. And it became a coping mechanism. And that like came up for me throughout this experience as I realized like I have a lot of bad anchors or like ties to food and how I use food, which is incredible to learn that, because then you can become aware of it and start to reframe how you look at food. And for me, I'm starting to look at food as fuel and as something that like helps my body and treats my body, but it's not necessarily something that I should like reward myself with every single day and feel like I have to do that because of my emotional state. So it helped me take more responsibility for my emotional state. And overall, that's like the 3 main pros that I see to doing this beef challenge. And now we need to dive into the cons, because the cons are definitely there. Okay, the cons. Number 1, it was miserable eating all beef. Granted, I did have the opportunity to have ribeye steak for dinner all 3 days. That was the best part. Like that was easy. I loved that. Like I can totally get behind that and do that sustainably for a long time. But eating ground beef for lunch and for breakfast was miserable. And like it quickly got old to the point where I even got some Cholula out on the end of day 1 for lunch and started using it because it was just so boring and mundane to just eat straight beef with a little bit of salt and pepper. Like that was one of the biggest cons. It's a very boring diet. Number 2 biggest con is that like keto flu that hit me hard on day 2. Like on Tuesday, I even found myself laying down in the afternoon for 30 minutes just to like take a quick power nap between business meetings, like get ready to go, get some energy back, and like get back in the game. But like without taking that power nap on day 2, I would have been a lot grumpier and like struggled when it came to like my normal daily activities. The third and final con was having less energy for my workouts, right? So ideally your body is supposed to adapt and begin working off of fat and using that as a fuel source. But you know, day 2 workout was extremely hard. And then day 3 workout, I cut down the volume and how much like actual weight I was doing in my exercises so that it was manageable. But it would just be extremely hard to put on strength, in my opinion, following an all beef diet such as this. So if you're the type of person who wants to go into the gym, you want to lift heavy weight, you want to see improvements in your strength, I definitely recommend that you have some carbs in your diet. And like, this is not something sustainable if you're doing a training style such as CrossFit or like high intensity lifting, powerlifting, or strength training. It's going to knock you out real quick. So overall, that is my review of the past 3 days. I'm going to actually show you guys a picture. If you look at this picture right here, this is the difference between day 1 and then day 4 today. Not a huge difference, but I think that if you look at the side view, this is where you can see where I leaned out the most. It's not a huge difference because once again, it's only 3 days. But if you kept on the all beef diet for an extended amount of time, I really think that you would lose a lot of body fat and you definitely lean up extremely fast. With that being said, overall, I think that the all beef diet is a fun challenge to do. I do not think that it's sustainable, and I would not recommend it to an everyday average individual unless you specifically have autoimmune problems, autoimmune diseases, and you're looking for a unique way to deal with those problems and overcome those problems when it comes to your health or some mental issues as well. Overall, it's definitely not something that I recommend. I enjoyed the challenge, but I think moving forward, I am just so excited to go back to hitting my normal macros, having a very flexible approach to my nutrition, and just making sure that I'm hitting my caloric deficit when I'm in a cut, my calories when I'm in maintenance, or my caloric surplus when I am actually putting on weight or putting on mass as well. And then making sure that I get my protein in and focusing on those important macros that will help me get closer to my body goals and my performance goals. So overall, that is the 3-day beef challenge. If you guys would like to see another type of challenge similar to this one, I'm interested in trying it out. Like, this was a fun experiment to do over the last 3 days. It brought some variety to my life. I think that it makes fun content to kind of shake things up from the normal sales and psychology stuff that we typically talk about on my channel and in my social media. So if you're interested in seeing a different type of challenge, comment down below. Let me know what you would like me to experiment with. Obviously, there's some things out there I'm not going to give a try, but I'm definitely open to trying some different things when it comes to performance hacks, nutrition, diet, training. Like, I definitely want to try some new stuff coming into summer and going into the rest of 2023. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you like, that you subscribe, that you share it with someone else, and let me know, is there any other challenges that you'd be interested in seeing, or do you want to try out the beef challenge yourself and see how this goes over a 3-day or even an extended period of time? That being said, you guys, I'm heading out. I'm going to the gym, finally have some carbs in my system, and I'm going to have a great lift. Have a good one, guys.